Thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm Catherine Docherty, Senior Marketing Executive here at TRG Screen, and I'd like to welcome you all to our webinar, Mastering Employee AI and Web Usage, How to Balance Access Risks and Spending. So just a few housekeeping items before we get started. We would like to let everyone know that this session will be recorded and distributed to those who registered. Next, you'll notice a Q&A function for this webinar in the webinar controls along the bottom. So we encourage you to ask questions throughout using this function. And if we aren't able to answer your question during the session or at the end, we'll be sure to get an answer to you. And lastly, at the end of the webinar, there will be a short survey that will pop up on the screen. And we would be grateful if you could take a couple of minutes to fill this out, as it helps us to better tailor our content to be most valuable to you. And now it's my pleasure to welcome today's speaker, Jorn van der Bruggen, Product Director, ResearchMonitor. So Jorn, over to you.
Thanks, Catherine, and again, welcome all to the webinar today. Thanks for joining. Thanks for making the time. I think that it's great to see everyone joining us. We would like to get out here more often. We know that over the past period, we didn't organize a lot of these sessions, but we have the plan to get out here more, especially around releases that we do and where we can discuss the features that we are bringing to you. But also, if you would like us to discuss any other topics or have other forums, then we are always keen to receive your suggestions. As Catherine mentioned, I'm Jorn. I'm involved in the product team. Together with our UX team and product owners, we've been growing quite a bit on the product side. And over the past few months, I think last 6 months, we've been really working on changing the way we run our development team and our releases. So I'm sure you will notice that if you have not done it already, that we are changing release notes and the way we really roll out the version. So we've been busy with that, but again, we want to be out here more often, and I'm hoping to see you every couple of months. Been with the company for over 12 years, been working on different products, different projects, but now really focused on RM and Quest as well. Yeah, seeing a lot of interesting plans. The company as itself will work on things like AI and better reporting and things like that. But today we focus on RM and the newer features that we have been rolling out there. As you can see, I'm going to go through a few industry trends first. Then I will talk a bit more about our vision and things that we want to work on. I'm going to do a live demo of Guard, which is the product that we want to, the feature that we want to show, and there will definitely be time for Q&A. Feel free to post those questions right now. I'll try to answer them as we go, and otherwise I'll cover them at the end. So industry trends, right? And we've been around for a while, so I think we know quite a bit what's going on in the market. But I'm very curious as well to hear from you in a bit when we make this session a bit more interactive. What we've been seeing is, I think, in this case, two different trends around the move from print and hard copy to digital data, as well as passing through cost to your clients. I was at some events last year in a workshop, and it only then I realized how much of the data that was consumed by the law firms was still hard copy not so long ago. But after doing some research, been seeing that it's been rapidly shrinking the size of what's being provided in hard copy or print. And of course, in 2019, 2020, COVID has even speeded it up more. I think that's an obvious one, but yeah, it shows here as 12% a few years ago. I wonder how much is left, which I will ask you in a bit. And actually another interesting one, which I got a feeling a bit when I was speaking to our client-facing teams around our client validation module and how many people are still using that. They definitely share that it's used less and less. And even if it's used, it wouldn't necessarily be to really pass through the cost to the clients. So a lot of the cost now is being taken on by the law firm, right? Instead of being able to directly bill that to your clients. Again, interesting trends. I think that will definitely impact the law firm in a way that they need to be even tighter on how they manage their resources. And again, we hope that we can provide you with tools to do that even more efficiently. So yeah, I would love to see how you think the first trend is happening in your firm. Do you recognize the numbers here? Is it much less than 12 or not? So I think, Catherine, we can pop up a first question here and get an interaction going with the crowd. So you should now see a poll coming on the screen. Feel free to click any of the options, and in a few seconds or a minute, we will discuss what you guys have been providing us with. So yeah, over or almost 50% is at above 85% digitized. So that's quite in line what we see on the slide. A few are still below 85, and then a few are, I'm not sure. But yeah, I think there's almost no way around it. And from just digitizing into web pages, now things going into APIs as well, and what's next, right? With AI even coming to play. I wonder, anyone that wants to comment, feel free to unmute or post something in the chat or in the Q&A bit, what main challenges will be around that, but we can cover that later as well. But yeah, if anything comes to mind, let us know, and we'll happily make it a bit more interactive and talk about those challenges around digital licensing. I think I have found a few of those challenges, being the cost that those are coming with. I think that the way licenses for digital resources are set up are quite different from the hard copy ones. It's quite common in software world, and even our new owners think that way, to increase costs quite often, quite rapidly as well. And yeah, what you can see is that over the past few years, we've done some research here as well, that an average price increase year on year was around 10%. That would include as well some price hikes around features, which I will come to in a bit, but definitely in the market, the forecast is that around a 9% price increase will be still there year on year. And that's been growing that market with $15 billion across technology, data, and all the bits that go around. Top 4 vendors, I don't even have to mention them. I think everyone here in the call will know them, but they are even getting bigger, and they have around 80% market share at this moment, which is very interesting. And again, one of the reasons why with Guard later on we'll show that it's not just focused on 1 or 2 vendors, it's agnostic, so we can do that for any vendors, because yeah, new products, new vendors coming up as well, but definitely the top 4 should be covered. And those feature-driven hikes, right? I think that's something that I've been seeing quite a bit in the market, and I'm curious how that has been for you recently, where vendors are bringing to market either new platforms or new portions of a platform, or even just a chatbot on a screen, right, in the portal, bringing in the AI functionality. And they use that to hike prices like crazy, even though you might not even have asked for that feature, right? So I believe our second question is around that. So have you recently been faced with those kind of price increases where it goes above and beyond sort of acceptable percentage, just because vendors are increasing or bringing to market AI products that they want to get a return on investment on, right? So yeah, very curious to see it. These inputs are anonymous, so we don't really see who's saying what, and of course we would treat them confidentially as well. But I think overall, generically, like yeah, have you seen that? And if not, I'm hoping it stays like that. But wow. There's no one saying no. 80% yes, and a few are not sure. I mean, exactly, that's what we're seeing as well. And when we speak to you individually in meetings, It's a common trend and something that we as well think Guard can help with, right? So we'll cover that in a bit. I think that's a great input. Thank you for that. Let's move on. So around the product vision, right? I think that as I said earlier on, RM has been around for a while, and there are some features that have really helped clients and create a lot of value in the past, being it client validation. But as we saw, that pass-through of cost is so minimal now, and I think not actively used anymore, that maybe client validation, other than just keeping track of what's being used for each client or for which project, there is a bit less return on investment for that feature. And same with, for example, password management. A lot of more vendors are now offering single sign-on, meaning that it might not be needed anymore to keep track of passwords, right? So I think Guard, but also usage management, and maybe even I think also contract management are features and that can bring a lot more value these days. And that's where also as part of the MV2, MV3 updates, we've taken on Guard first, but we're definitely already looking now at like how can we improve the usage management, the data collection on that bit, how can we ensure that data is more accurate even. And then I'm hoping that in the later part of this year, we can also start looking more at contract management, something that like our company is actually very strong on in our other products. Like we have dedicated contract management solutions. That's where I spend most of my time in the firm as well. But yeah, I'm hearing from a lot of firms out there that there's a need for more contract management functionality. And there is some in RM, but there also definitely are some features missing. So we want to talk about that in one of our next sessions with you or an individual call. So please feel free to reach out. But as I said today, we talk about Guard, one of those other features that we're bringing to market that we really think can help create more value using ResearchMonitor. Maybe some of you have heard of Research Path, which was a feature that we had in the past. It was sort of only available on premise. It wasn't compatible with MV3, only focused on Lexis and Westlaw and specific modules in there. So very limited use and not any reporting was available. With Guard, we offer that hosted as well. We do that with MV3. As I mentioned, it's fully vendor agnostic, right? So the cool thing is that not only is it vendor agnostic from a feature perspective, but also from a license perspective. So you don't license it for just one or two vendors. When you license Guard, it will be available across multiple vendors, as many as you like. A number of different scenarios that I will go over in the next slide in a bit more detail, and I will show you during the demo. And I always like reporting, but especially using the reporting to show the value of the product, maybe internally or to the people that assign the budgets or whatever it might be. So we can exactly report on how many accesses people have been granted through Guard or maybe have been blocked as well, right? Which is very, very interesting, especially when you think that every click through or download of a report could cost normally an extra out of contract fee, for example. So you can right away see how many of those you have saved by implementing Guard. There also is user grouping, and that's an interesting one as well. Per resource, you can set up Guard, but then you can even choose to which user groups it should apply. So maybe it's only to interns that are using some parts of a website, but shouldn't go into a more billable or more premium content. Or maybe it's the other way around, where only partners should be allowed and the rest of the company should not be. We even have some discussions with clients where they would use the grouping to make groups of people that have received training on a new AI product versus people that have not received the training and should not be allowed to go into an AI product, right? So again, a very flexible feature that can be used in many different ways. So I wouldn't be able to demo that today, but it's a very, I think, common thing, of course, user groups in RM. I'm not seeing any questions, so I'll just keep going. Also, because we only want to take 30 minutes of your time today, but feel free to post them, of course, or any thoughts or questions you would like us to go over. So quickly covering the next slide with the different scenarios. Not in much detail because I'd rather show you later on in the browser. But there are a few different types of pop-ups that you can define or checks that Guard would do. The first two are quite straightforward. You either fully block someone from accessing a site versus a partial block, where it's just a warning. A threshold is more linked to setting up an allowance based on the volume. So if you can download the number of files per day, that might trigger an extra cost for every download. You can set up a threshold there. Similarly, it's a multi-select block, so you could potentially say you can't download 5 at once. You can only download them one by one, again, to prevent for big numbers of extra fees to be charged. And source-based block is a bit more technical. I will show you this in a bit. But that basically means that it's not even just a button or a page that we block. It could be any part, any hook that we can put on a website, which is going to be interesting as well. So let me swap now to the browser and let me just show you how this works. Not a lot to demo, so it will not take too long, but I think it's still helpful to see how this works, right? So you can, again, set this up for any resource, right? So we've used a few sources that are easily accessible for us. As you know, we don't always have access to your vendor websites. So in this case, I'm using ft.com, not necessarily the most expensive resource, but it's a great page to show the different hooks. First of all, I think something that might be more in the way of keeping control of who's accessing what or who's even subscribing to which pages, right? So how often do vendors not reach out to people to give them a trial? Just trying to lure them into using the product and then sort of facing them with, you need a subscription now, or you need to start paying for this now. And they might even use a company credit card or something like that, which we typically want to prevent because maybe you already have a license or you want to still be in control to determine what you're going to pay for or not. So if I'm not going to click the subscribe button, you can see now that Guard pops up a message here saying, you're not allowed to purchase this. You need permission from your line manager, so please reach out to your manager or to the team to discuss this. This text is fully customizable, so if you have a link to an internal request management system or to Quest, maybe, right, to raise a request in Quest to get access, you can include that here as well. If you want to redirect them to a different page, which I will show you in a bit, that can be customized here as well. But yeah, anything can be put in here, whatever you like. And it just brings me back. So it doesn't open the page. There's no way around it to get in there. Can try as many times as I want. It doesn't let me through. The more technical one here is markets, which is, it's like a page. And in this case, it's like when the page is fully loaded, you will see it will recognize, hey, this is a content page that maybe will trigger like a premium fee for us. So I do not want people to access it. So the moment I try to interact with it, it says, hey, you're not allowed to access this either. And if I would hit close now, of course, it would still bring up the page. So what we have done here is we have put in a redirect. So the moment I hit close, it brings me to a different page. And that, again, can be any page you like. Could be an internal page, could be a page from a different vendor. So that's how you can redirect people to use the right content instead of triggering like premium fees. Then, of course, some AI angles, right? Like there is new AI tools popping up left and right. So how do we keep that control? I think it's interesting as well that looking at one of those trends, digitalizing all the resources, most of the time the knowledge management teams are still seen as the person responsible to educate people, to make them aware of what they can use and cannot use. And again, with AI, that provides a whole other level of complexity and control that you need. So for example, again, just an example, this could be any chat screen in any vendor website, right? I know a few of the big ones have started to include those. I can load the page, that's perfectly fine. If there will be other sections on this page that I can use, that's perfectly fine. I can click on them, I can interact with them, but if I click in the chat screen, boom, it warns me and says, you cannot access this AI platform. Actually, what we've done as a firm we have signed off Perplexity AI as our AI partner, AI resource. So please be aware that you cannot use this ChatGPT, and familiarize yourself with the legal obligations, data privacy, what have you. I can hit close, I can interact with the rest of the screen perfectly fine, but the moment I try to chat, it will stop me from doing so, right? And I see a question coming in. Let me just answer that right now. In terms of the number of articles, probably we could do that with the threshold feature. So we would, I go back to ft.com, we would probably have to count how many times people access an article. The question is, how do we define an article? That's probably when they click a link or when a certain URL pops up. So I'm quite sure that we can do that as well in terms of articles. The threshold is mainly built around downloads, but yeah, we would probably have to change that briefly to cover articles as well. Great question, Lee. Thanks. Continuing, again, keep them coming whenever you want. ChatGPT, again, clicking it will block it. But then if I go to Perplexity, it could be a redirect, or I can go in myself. I can also post a warning message here, right? Still to explain to people how they can use this website, that you cannot input any confidential information. That's of course one of the biggest things that can go wrong when using AI. And when you click continue or when you click next, yes, then you will accept to do so. And again, these clicks on these buttons, we capture and we can report on that. So you could even show which people have said, yes, I understand this, to click continue. And that's when I can say, what is the weather tomorrow? Right? And it will work as per normal. So after that, you've been past that stage. There you go. It will work as per normal. So that's I think a great thing. Not great, quite a bit of rain coming tomorrow, which I'm not too happy about. So that's one of the few main things, the main scenarios around Guard. The difficulty is for me that I can keep going and show you other scenarios. I think we had at least 5 or 6 different client meetings so far on Guard. And every time in every call, there was a different use case and different scenario. Yeah, that's what we like. I think Guard is designed to be used in various different ways. So I'm sure that every use case that you have as well in mind can be covered. And Julie, another great question. Actually, one of the questions that we got from clients when we first sort of validated the features. So I'm not sure if everyone can see it, but like, do you have to acknowledge it every single time, or can we show it periodically? We are working on an enhancement as we speak to be able to set it to once per day, for example, per person. Indeed, because every time you hit the page now, it will come up. So you will need to click quite a few times if you access that multiple times a day, which is not ideal. So we're going to have an announcement, hopefully in the coming release, but if not in the next release, to be able to control how often you show that. Another great question. So that was the demo. Now I've shown you quite a few different things you could do. If we are still, and I'm not sure this slide will present it right in the right way, but if we're still here, current usage coming in today, how would you want to protect yourself and your firm in the future? Different scenarios. The worst one, I guess, is when you don't really do anything. There's going to be a risk in terms of compliance. Can you use AI or not? But also, of course, in terms of license costs, there's a big exposure there as well, where if you don't control the usage, the fees would only go up more. The other scenarios that you see, A, B, and C, I think are different levels of integrating Guard. You don't have to go all out full blocking from day one. You can bring it in slowly for only certain resources, maybe even for only certain user groups. And you could even just warn them, not even block them, right? To see how often people see it, what's their response. So in terms of implementing the software, I think there's quite a few nice steps to take. And yeah, maybe going to a scenario A where you're in full control and you redirect people to maximize your license use. Yeah, so just wanted to highlight that there's no need to go all out from day one. That brings us to Q&A, and I see two other questions came in. So Margaret, like Lexis and Westlaw, can it be linked to client meta numbers? That's again something that we have also been talking about with some clients. And we even had a discussion with developers, I think 2 weeks ago on this, how easy it is to implement it. Not too straightforward, but we are investigating it to see if we can do it, because that is, of course, an interesting link. Some clients are allowing you to use AI or other tools, and some clients would not allow it. And I think via a client meta number or even just a client list, we could control that. But it's still quite a lot of work, because for each resource, you would have to define which clients allow it and which ones don't, right? So we're seeing how feasible it is. And Joe, indeed, RM as a product, you need to have an agent installed on each user machine to be able to pop up these things or to track usage and stuff like that. Yes, correct. I thought we would have more time left at the end. It's just 2 minutes, but as Catherine mentioned, we can always have a follow-up with you afterwards. Feel free to get in touch with us directly. My email is here, or Jose, which I'm sure all of you are familiar with. Any other questions you would like to pop into the Q&A, feel free to do so. And again, the recording is available, so have a look at it if you want, if it went a bit too quickly, so that we can answer things afterwards as well. Joshua, yeah, hosted RM, ideally yes, and that's because the configuration of Guard needs to be done by our CS team. It's not an end user facing feature yet. So yeah, ideally we provide it only on hosted, again, because the way we have to support you locally is a bit challenging for us, and that might incur a bit of additional cost for you. And talking about costs, indeed, Jose can provide you the exact answer, Dion, like what the cost is, but it's charged as an extra module. So it's not a massive amount. And it's, as I mentioned, it's not giving you a fixed number of resources. You can use it for all your resources, right? So it's a one fee that you pay on a yearly basis, a normal license fee. But definitely get in touch with Jose. He can provide you with a very friendly rate if you're quick. I don't know the fee, so you have to talk to Jose about that. With that, I think Catherine running out of time, so I'll hand it over to you again to wrap it up. Thanks,
Yes,
everyone.
that was great. Thanks, Jorn, and thanks everyone who joined. And like Jorn said, we will send out the recording after, so feel free to pass on to colleagues that may not have joined or revisit as you wish. And if you found it helpful, please fill out the survey that will populate at the end. So yes, thanks again for your time, and look forward to seeing you at future webinars and events. Thanks all.